Thank you, Switch ZA, Mike D, Tom, and Anthony Carrillo for your support. It is much appreciated. Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's build is the 800% attack speed Beastmaster, and this is going to revolve around having 6 wolves that are very tanky. They're going to be very ice motivated with Ice Bite and doing a lot of area AoE. And they're going to have good attack, they're going to have a lot of crit chance, and a lot of that will be based around having aspect of the lynx and a lot of aspect of the shark, so that you have a lot of attack speed, a lot more melee damage, and that goes for you and for them. So you're going to get a lot of attacks per second, you're going to have really good leech, and then you're going to have, of course, you yourself 100% crit, and your wolves will have quite a bit of crit, not close to 100%, but they'll have decent crit, but they're going to have really good survivability, especially due to the flat health regen that you can get on gear, and then the fact that they get 300% increased health regen in passives. It allows for them to regen 500, 600 health per second on top of all the massive leech that they're getting, that they're going to out survive you. In fact, I went to 200 waves in the arena and not one of them died. I died first. Partly my fault. I probably should have let them be in the attack a little bit more. But I digress. Now this build can take you to 200 waves in the arena. It can do empowered content. Of course, it isn't the most tanky thing in the world, so getting there is going to take a little bit of skill. It's not going to push 400 waves, but it is very good build. It is solid DPS. It's decent for tankiness. It has good clear speed. You can pretty much just keep running and let the wolves do the attacking for you, and they're very quick, especially with all those stacks of aspect of the shark. Whenever you get some attacks in on a rare or a boss, everything just picks up in speed, and you and the wolves will kind of hit berserk mode. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the skills, the interaction, and just how it all works. For skills, I'm running a Swipe, Summon Frenzy Totem, Warcry, Ice Thorns, and Summon Wolf. For Swipe, we have +2 levels on this. However, you don't need to have the +2 levels. You can just work towards that as you get a really good relic and get a tier 5 on that. Or if you get an exalted dropped on that, that would be good as well. If you do not have that many, you can take 2 points out of Way of the Hunt, as we don't really need that. Now when you first spec into this, you're going to want to work down to the bottom first. Get aspect of the panther, go ahead and get feline hunter, and then work into the crit chance and the crit multiplier with the apex predator and the ambush. The last ones that you need are the wild calling and the Wingarian reach, along with the way of the hunt. Those are the last points that you put in. For Summon Frenzy Totem, the first points that you're going to want to do with this is getting your companions to do more damage. So go ahead and put 4 points in Rabidity, then 2 points in Beaststyle Frenzy, along with 2 points in Lead the Pack, and then you can start working in towards getting the aura for yourself for the crit chance and for the extra damage. And that would be all of these points in the bottom, along with that Dig Deep for the 250% critical strike chance. For Warcry, this is again a +2 that you'll have to get on the relic, so it's going to be rather difficult to get the Warcry and get the Swipe to both plus tier 5s or even an exalted and get above that. Again, you don't need all of these points. If you don't have 22 and you only have 20, go ahead and take 2 of them out of the battle cry. Other than that, the first things that you want to spec into is going down to the Berserker node and then getting the extra attack speed with the 3 points in Fury Strikes. After that, you want to work into getting it to where it only has a 5-second cooldown, so go ahead and dig into Shallow Breath. And then once you've done that, the last points, you're going to work into the Battle Cry for the crit chance, and you're going to work all the way into the cold section for the Bringer of Winter, which will give you another 100% crit chance. For Ice Thorns, you're going to have this completely built into being procced when you get hit. So the first thing that you want to do is build to the south, put your 3 points in Dagger Thorns, and then your next 6 points will all go into Spell Thorns and Bramble Armor, and then you can work to the left side. It doesn't matter which order you do this in. You can do Recast first, or you can work into the Bark Shield and Eternal Protection first. Then for Summon Wolf, we want 6 wolves, and the first thing that you're going to want to do is put your points into Savage Hunters, move on to Tundra Stalkers, then put a point in Winterborn and get 1 point in Pack Hunters. After that, you can pretty much do whatever you want. If you want survivability first, work towards getting the 4 points in Wolf and Recovery, because this 300% health regen on top of the amount of flat that you can now put on gear is a huge survivability thing for them, on top of them getting the physical leech, which they'll be doing quite a bit of damage. If you're looking for AoE first instead of defense, you can put 4 points into Frozen Fangs, and that'll give them the Ice Bite chance, which is going to give them kind of an AoE hit. And then the last thing you work into is the Victory Howl and the Snarl. Then for passives, we have 25 points in the Primalist base class, with 7 points in Natural Attunement, 1 point in Primal Strength, 5 points in Hunter's Restoration, 1 point in Harmony of Blades so that you can dual wield, and then 5 points in Beserker. I would do all 25 of these points before moving on to the Beastmaster. For the Beastmaster, we have 8 points in Ursane Strength, 1 point in Savagery, 1 point in Lamprey Teeth, 1 point in Ambush, 1 point in Rending Maul, and 1 point in Hunters of the Deep. Some of the first things you want to do as you work your way up this tree is definitely work your way and get the 1 point in Hunters of the Deep so that your companions get Aspect of the Shark with you. You don't need any more than 1 point right here. The other thing that you want to work into is the 8 points in Ursane Strength for the damage taken from nearby enemies, and then get into the Aspect of the Boar for the damage reduction. Once you get this damage reduction, the damage reduction from Aspect of the Boar, and then when you're at low life you have the Berserker damage reduction on top of having some endurance, your survivability is going to be really good as you enter the end game. And that's with 5 points in Porcine Constitution for an additional 15% damage reduction. After that, we have 5 points in Primal Strength so that you can get Aspect of the Boar procced when you do a melee hit, 1 point in Life of the Wilderness so that your companions will get the endurance along with you, which means when their life starts to get low, that 60% damage reduction will kick in for them as well. And then after that, you want to get into stacking the Aspect of the Shark. So you want 5 points in the Circle of Life, 1 point in Dragon Slayer, 8 points in Ocean Maul, and 1 point in Feeding Frenzy. You don't have to cap out these two before moving on, but at least get 1 point of them and get into the stacking. Then you want to get into the Aspect of the Lynx, so get some points in Cry of the Lynx, some points in Serrated Claws, and some points in Critical Bite, as since you'll have 100% crit, a lot of this leech is going to help keep you alive and replenish that life that you lose. 1 point in Force of Nature will allow you to get to that 6th wolf, and then 7 points in Viper Fangs is going to give you increased melee attack speed for you and your companions, which is huge. You don't care about the poison chance or the damage over time, but this attack speed is huge for you and your companions. And then the last points are going to go into Ancient Might and the Primal Aspects. Those are the last two things that you're going to put into. The Ancient Might is going to let your ice biting wolves do a lot more damage, and this Primal Aspects, the increased duration, is going to let you stack more aspects of the shark, which in turn will give you more melee damage and more melee attack speed. For items and idols, so for the idols, what you want is you want the hybrid Aspect of the Lynx and Aspect of the Shark. Now these are incredibly rare, so I would definitely go for the Aspect of the Shark effect over the Aspect of the Lynx if you're only getting one on your idols. A mix and match of a couple of each is fine, but if you have hybrids, even if they're bad rolls, they're going to really help the build out. They are not required for the build to do, they just bring on that min-max version of it so that you get more out of the Aspect of the Lynx and more out of the Aspect of the Shark, and of course 4 of those are going to be the best bet. For the uniques, we are wearing Ardor's Legacy so that we get the +1 maximum companion. This also gives you more melee attack speed, and it gives you a chance to chill on hit, which is always nice for defense and slowing down your enemies. The other unique is the Fang, which is going to allow you to summon in the maximum amount of wolves all the way up to your limit. It'll also give your companions more melee physical damage, which is a really big thing, on top of they can't be stunned. For the crafted items, I'm just going to hover over all of them. This build planner will be linked in the build. These are going to be the affixes that you want, and it's going to increase your survivability. Now, if you are not running the +2 level of Swipe or the plus level of Warcry, which are not needed for this build, definitely put in a fix on your relic that's going to be more minion health regen. It'll be a flat amount, and that amount is tripled thanks to, it's actually quadrupled thanks to the 300% increase effect of health regen that you get in the wolf tree, which is really going to increase their survivability. For instance, on the belt, we get 61 to 90. Let's say you do a mid-roll and you get 70. You're actually getting 280 health regen per second on your minions because of that 300% increase inside of their tree, which is a huge amount of health per second. And then I've hovered over all of them. Again, this will be linked. If you go to the description, there's a link to the written guide that will have a link to this inside of it. And then for the blessings, I'm just going to hover over them, but basically we went for more health, we went for the drop rate for the right items, increased stun chance from Lagon, and then we have critical strike avoidance in here. So if you're wondering why you don't have 100% critical strike avoidance on gear, it's because we have the level 100 empowered version of the blessing for critical strike avoidance. Even with a min rule, you also have 2 stats of it on your gear, so getting 100% with average rules is possible. And then we went with endurance threshold and endurance percentage, also from the 2 level 90 timelines, or level 100 if you empower them. And then for how I play the build, the skill rotation and how it works, so I put Summon Frenzy Totem on autocast, so it's always going to go off. Then I also put the Wolves on autocast so that the Howl will go off, and this is for 2 reasons. One, I want the Howl to go off because it actually procs the aspect of the links, so we're going to get 100% uptime of that buff for us and the companions. On top of that, Howl will do its normal things that it does for all of the companions, which is going to give them Frenzy and increase their damage by 50% for 3 seconds, so they'll be getting that buff as well for 30% uptime. And between those 2 things, just having that always automatically proc with autocast is really nice. So when I activate that, you're going to see we automatically get aspect of the links. And then, of course, they have Frenzy going on, and that's from the Totem for us, and of course they get it from Howl and from this, so they'll have 100% uptime of Frenzy as well. And then if you notice that our Howl comes off cooldown faster than the aspect of the links does, so you have 100% uptime of that as well. Yep, go ahead and see how it does that. So once you get the duration nodes inside of the passives, you're going to have 100% uptime of that, and that's going to allow you to have more leech and more crit, and it's going to be really, really nice. Then I just manually use Warcry, and I manually use Swipe, obviously when I need to attack. And whenever we're in danger and we need to, since we don't have to have Ice Thorns on the bar, we have Lunge or Fury Leap so that we can lunge away from enemies whenever we're taking damage, or if a bunch of axe throwers come on the screen. And then for attacking, all you'll do is throw on a Warcry and then just start attacking away. And of course, throw your wolves in there. You can see that they're getting their ice bites. And you can see the damage is just, well, it's absolutely ridiculous with dual wielding and the amount of flat damage that you get on top of the flat damage that you get from the Warcry, which is ridiculous. So you won't always do this much damage, obviously, since Warcry will not always be up. But you'll try and get it up. You'll do a Warcry before you hit rares, before you hit bosses, and get as much uptime as possible. And then the wolves themselves, you'll see they don't have a whole lot of crit, but they are critting here and there. They're going to be leeching a good portion of that back, but they do a decent amount of damage, and of course, since there's 6 of them, it's a decent amount of damage overall, and that Ice Bite is hitting an AoE area, so they like to clear out the trash packs for you. Their survivability, however, is like par none. Like I said, went 200 waves in the arena, and they were just taking no damage. Like, they were basically just unkillable with the amount of health regen that they had on top of the leech. And of course, just the natural damage reduction that they have now is also ridiculous. Alright, that's going to be it for this build video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, stay safe, and here's some gameplay.